Hello all. In this video I'm going to talk to you briefly about your extended response and how it's different from your blogs. So when your blogs you summarized a text and you started to engage in some rhetorical analysis. You were looking at what the text did well and how they did it, right? So now you're going to write an extended response. An extended response will be more like an essay than a blog. However, it's important that in this essay that you extend the response instead of just adding to the response. So in other words, I do not want you to copy and paste your blog and then add on to the end. Instead, you need to restructure the entire blog information. So you are going to use the information that you used in one of your blogs. Pick one to work with for this essay, but then you're going to restructure and extend, right? This is a different rhetorical situation. You have a different purpose now, a different genre now, so you're creating a different product. So you are going to extend by beefing up your analysis. You're going to have better examples, you're going to have more examples, and you're going to have better explanations of your examples in the rhetorical analysis portion. Okay, so you're going to extend like you're stretching it out rather than adding to the end of it. Okay, so I'm going to briefly go over the structure so you can get a sense of what you're doing here. So first of all, you will have an introduction, and in that introduction you will have a summary. Of course, you need to follow the rules of summary. Okay, that includes having the name of the text and the author's name and the main idea of the entire text all in the first sentence. All right, summaries follow a very particular structure. It's a very particular genre, and you need to show evidence that you understand what summaries should look like. So if your first sentence of your summary, doesn't have to be the first sentence of your essay, but the first sentence of your summary doesn't have a title, the title of the text you're analyzing, the author of that text, and the main idea of that text all in the first sentence, then you already know that you're not doing it correctly. Please review the video and quiz about summaries if you need additional information, okay? But you will have a summary in the introduction. And then after the summary, you're going to have a thesis. You do have to have a thesis in this paper, which you did not have to have necessarily in the blogs. It was more implied in the blogs, what you were arguing about whether or not the author was effective or not was kind of implied. But in this extended response, it needs to be much more explicitly stated. We need to know towards the beginning of your essay whether or not you think the author was effective, whether they made effective rhetorical choices or not. Now, you don't have to use this exact language of effective or ineffective. You can say good rhetorical choices, was a convincing argument, but it needs to be very, very clear by the end of your introduction what you are going to argue in this paper and why or why not you think they were effective or convincing or whatever language you use. Okay? Then the rest of your essay or extended response is going to defend that thesis. So if you say at the end of your introduction that the author was effective, then the whole rest of your essay should be proving to me that the author was effective. If you say the author was ineffective, then the whole rest of your essay will explain why the author was ineffective. Now, in the body of your essay, so as you spend the rest of your essay to defend your thesis, in the body of your essay there should be paragraphs, right? It shouldn't be one long paragraph or two long paragraphs, right? This is more like an essay, so it's a different genre. You're going to have paragraphs that have topic sentences. So I should know on the first sentence or so of a paragraph what we're talking about in this paragraph. For example, if you want to write a paragraph about the author's word choice and how that was effective, I should know in the first sentence or so that this paragraph is going to be about word choice and they're arguing that the word choice was effective. Or I should know that this paragraph is mostly about organization and they're arguing that the organization was ineffective. So you need topic sentences. And then within your paragraphs, this is where the extended part of the response comes in. You're going to give examples so the audience can follow along. So if you say the author used a great word choice, I need examples in this paragraph of some of the places where he or she used great word choice. What were some of the words that you thought were great? Okay, so you're going to give examples so your audience can follow along. If I read the text and I wasn't really paying attention to the word choice, I might not have any idea what you're talking about. So it's your job to help me, the reader, follow along with you as you explain to me why the word choice was effective. Okay, and it's important to remember that you're not just writing this as like a kind of test, right? You're not just writing this information because you're proving that you could find it. You're writing this information as part of a persuasive essay. You're trying to convince me that it was effective. So to convince me, I need examples, right? So that I can follow along and understand your argument. You also have to constantly explain why that was effective or not. So it's not enough to say the author had good word choice, here's a word she uses, here's another word she uses, here's another word she uses, and then move on to another paragraph. When you say this was a very good word she used, explain why you thought that word was good. What was good about it? Why do you think another word might not have been as good? Or whatever it is you're arguing, okay? If you're talking about the author's tone, what about the author's tone was effective and why was it effective? If you're talking about the author's organization, what about the organization was effective and why was it effective, right? You're trying to get me to think like you, and I am not inside your brain, so I cannot think like you until you put your thoughts on the page for me to follow along with. So part of a good essay, I know, a good rhetorical choice that you can make is to try to be organized, clear, and give effective examples so that I, your reader, can follow along with your essay. Importantly, again, you are extending your response by increasing the analysis portion and giving more examples. You are not just going to copy and paste one of your blogs and then add to the end of it. You need to restructure it and respond to this writing situation. And students often forget this, but because it's more of an essay, there should be a conclusion. The conclusion doesn't have to be very long, but essays should not abruptly end, right? Anything that you're writing in essay form, whether it's a reflection or an essay, it has to have some kind of ending to tell the reader, okay, I'm done now, okay? It does not have to be a really long thing. You don't have to recap everything you argued, word for word all over again, but just give us a sense of why you're telling us this, why it's important, have a little bit of a conclusion, okay? So it is important that there be a conclusion. All right, if you have any questions, just email your instructor.